We're gonna dive in now. That's me. You guys can see me, I think, on the screen too, right? Yeah. That's Seahawks Stadium behind me. I'm hoping for a return to normalcy someday, but until then, we'll wear our masks, we'll wash our hands, and we'll talk about social media. So let's get in here. I want to start with something that, and this happened 10 years ago, and it was maybe even more than 10 years ago. Facebook changed the way that we all interacted with it, right? And today, it's very common that we understand that we don't show up on Facebook, and it's not just this ordered list of every single thing that anybody that we're connected to has ever posted in chronological order. But many of you can probably remember a day when that used to be the case. It used to be the case that in Facebook, you literally just went in there and it was like chronological order, all the stuff that was happening. And then they made a change, and they basically said, hey, we're going to decide what we show you in your feed. And there was a big hubbub. Like, people were not happy about it at all. Today, this has kind of become the norm, right? Places like Instagram or Twitter or whatever it is, they're all serving up this kind of, an algorithm that determines what we see inside of our social media, which is why we, when we click on certain things, we continue to see more of that type of thing. Now, shortly after that happened, because there was such a hubbub about it, Facebook released their algorithm. And I know you didn't show up here today being like, I can't wait to do math on this social media, but it isn't really math as much as it's the formula that they used and kind of put out into the world to explain how they would rank content, right? So they moved from being chronological to saying, look, we're going to rank this content. And people are like, well, what? How? And they said, this is how. Okay. So EdgeRank is not still currently in use. They have a slightly different way that they do this. And by the way, even when they put this out, they didn't give, these big explanations about what this is. People had to kind of figure it out. Just like with search engine optimization, Google never said, hey, here's the roadmap. Here's every single stop on the way. If you just do that, you kind of got to figure this stuff out. So EdgeRank was essentially, they determined how they were going to rank your posts based on a few things. The affinity. And so what affinity was, and really still is how closely related are you to that person that created that thing that you might be shown? And they called those an edge. So a piece of content that got posted was an edge, right? So a video was an edge. A picture was an edge. Just written text was an edge. So how closely related are you to that person who posted that thing, right? Did I mark them as my mom and let Facebook know that was my mom? Or can Facebook tell I was married to this person? Or does Facebook see me interacting often with this person? Am I often commenting on their stuff, right? All of those interactions that you might do with somebody on Facebook, online, right, creates this affinity where Facebook says, look, I think that Bob is really interested in what this Gail lady is posting, because every time she posts something, he comments on it. And he also marked her as his mom on Facebook. So the more affinity we have with someone, the more likely it is that our stuff or their stuff would show up in each other's timeline, right? This word that kind of materialized when Facebook decided we're not just going to give it to you in chronological order. We're going to present things to you based on an edge rank. Then there was weight. So what type of edge is this? And how valuable does Facebook determine that edge to be? So when this first came about, the idea of video was not as prevalent as it is today. But what people started to realize very quickly as video became more prevalent is Facebook seems to give more weight to video than they might give to just something that we wrote, text that we wrote. They're going to give more weight to a comment that you left on somebody's post than they are to a like, right? So a post that has 20 comments, it's going to have more weight than a post that just has 20 likes. And that post is more likely to show up and be ranked higher and show up to more people in your network if it had more engagement on it, right? So not just the weight of the thing you're actually posting, but the weight of like what's happening around that thing. Is it getting good interaction? Are people responding to it? Do people like it? Because if those last 20 people commented on it, Facebook wants to show it to more people because they think more people are going to comment on it. And then the last factor was this idea of decay, that over time, right, your post is less likely to show to somebody as, you know, it becomes a day, 2 days, 5 days, a week later. So for a number of years, this is kind of the very simple formula that Facebook used. Now, more recently, they've moved to this kind of, I don't know what I'd call it. It's very similar, but there's a few kind of variables in there. So there's this idea of inventory, signals, predictions, and final score. And, you know, 10 years ago when Facebook introduced EdgeRank, I don't know how well they were doing at, you know, predicting what we might like to see, right? They've now got 10 years of figuring out, what is Bob Stewart like? What is Ashley like? What kind of stuff does she interact with? Because make no mistake about it, at the very end of the day, Facebook's entire business model is predicated on you scrolling more, right? So they want to do the best job they can to pull you in, to serve content up to you that's going to engage you and make you want to stay on that app for another scroll so you can see another ad. So let's talk about a few of these things. Inventory, right? The inventory of all the posts available to display at a given time. So look, I'm not going to try to tell you when to post. I think people are, is there a best time to post? I think any time is a fine time to post, okay? Because in those more traffic times when there's more people on Facebook, there's more inventory, which means maybe your post has a lower potential of getting through, but there's more people looking, right? When there's less people on Facebook, like on a Sunday morning, right, or a Sunday afternoon, there's less people on Facebook, which means there's less inventory, which means maybe if you posted then your stuff would have a higher likelihood to show, but it showed to fewer people, right? So, but there is this concept of inventory. This is why, you know, you'll scroll through Facebook today, not see a particular post, but if you scrolled really deep and tonight you're still scrolling in there, you might see a post that was actually written 5 days ago, when 5 days ago they didn't think it had any relevance to you, right? You had more inventory available for them to show you. Your friends have been posting more at that point. Now you've scrolled through all that stuff, and later on Facebook goes, well, we're running out of inventory to show this guy. Here's something that somebody posted from 5 days ago. It didn't really have much relevance. We didn't think they'd like it, but we're going to show it to them now because we're running out of stuff to show them. So inventory, like how much content is there available to show somebody? Then we've got all these signals. And really, this is kind of where the rubber meets the road. There's certain signals that you don't necessarily control, right? Some of these passive signals. Now, some of these you do control, but like view time, for example, you don't control how long somebody, you know, spends when they scroll on their phone to stop and read your thing. If it's a little bit longer and it's engaging and it gets them to stop and read it, well, that's good, right? It's going to be a better signal to Facebook. They're like, somebody stopped on this post and read that thing. So, but then you start to think like, all right, well, what kind of stuff am I doing if I realize that view time, like videos, obviously, right? If people are watching my videos, it keeps them on there for longer. And again, when you remember that Facebook's entire intent is to keep us there, right? It makes sense that view time would be story type. Like, is it a video? Is it a photo? Is it text, right? The time posted, like what time of day did I post that thing? The active signals, I think, are probably the place that you guys have the most ability to kind of impact things. And we'll talk about these active signals and kind of the idea behind likes and shares and comments and how they play into what you guys are trying to achieve, which is ultimately to get your stuff to show to more people. So we'll talk about meaningful interactions and kind of what those mean. But comments, replies, likes, shares, right? we'll get in and really explore signals as we go through here. That's the whole point of this, is to get you guys posting content that potentially leads to more signals. So predictions, again, the last 10 years, we've got all this AI technology, right? All these artificial intelligence that's learning what we're doing and deciding that they're going to serve us up stuff based on what we've done in the past. So if you have people that are interacting with the content that you post over time, there's a much higher likelihood that that stuff is going to be served to them in the future, because Facebook goes, oh, hey, I see that Ashley likes every time Bob posts something, she likes it, right? Or she comments on it, or every once in a while she'll share something. You know, much higher likelihood that that stuff is going to get into her feed because of the predictions they can make about what I've done in the past and the behavior that I'm going to take in the future. All right, so at the very end of the day, right, you get this kind of score, which you don't even know what that is, right? You just kind of hope that it's high enough that Facebook is going to show your stuff to a wider array of people that follow you. And look, I'm assuming I'm not the only one that's ever been like, I totally forgot about that guy. Like, I went to high school with that guy. How come I never see his stuff? All right, well, I probably never comment on his stuff. I probably never like his stuff. He probably rarely does the same with me, right? And so we've got no, there's no affinity between us, right? So at the end of the day, they show me his stuff really late at night when I've scrolled through everything else that Facebook thinks I care about. A couple things to avoid before we'll get to these 8 kind of posts that I pulled that people have done. Third-party posting applications. I don't know how popular these are today, but I know at one point these were massively popular. And if you were a business owner, you were being, kind of convinced that you should create content on a place like Hootsuite, and you could schedule it and it could fire off into Facebook, and somebody else could manage your stuff for you. Or sometimes your websites will have these share icons on them where you'll go from your website, you'll hit that share tool, and that will kind of feed a piece of content into Facebook. Don't use these. And I get, like, even inside of our Brivity platform, we have places where you guys can do this. Like on your website, for example, you could go to your website, pull up your new listing that you're wanting to market, and you could share it from your website, right? We use a tool called Share This on the website. Here's the problem when you do that. When you do that, you go to your own website, we've got a share icon on there, and you go, I want to share this post to my Facebook. We use this thing called Share This third-party application. You never actually go to Facebook, right? You go to your website, you click the little button, you say, yep, you type in whatever you want, you hit post, it's now posted over to Facebook. You never went there. If we remember what Facebook's business model is, which is they need you there so you can see some ads, after you, let's say, instead of doing it the way where I go to my website, I click the share icon. What if I went to my website, I copied the URL, and now I go into Facebook, I'm like, I'm going to paste this URL in here, now I'm going to write something. I'm in Facebook. That's where they want me. So when I use a third-party application, Facebook is going to suppress the reach that I get with that post. I don't know it as a fact, but I believe it to be true. They've never come out and said we do or we don't do it this way. But when you understand their business model, and look, we've tested this, right? We can put the same thing up when we go in and directly post it, or we can post it from a third-party application. They're going to extend the reach when we're in Facebook, because what happens when we get in there, we all go, I'm going to post this thing, and then let me see what my friends are up to. Let me scroll. Let me consume some ads from Facebook. So it makes a lot of sense that they would prefer that I wasn't just over on my website feeding stuff into Facebook. And look, this is one of the most polarizing, I'm 43 years old. This is one of the most polarizing times in my lifetime. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask, right? Black Lives Matter. There's all this stuff that, look, and I think that if you feel compelled to take a stand on Facebook or a stance, I think you should do it. But here's something you should know, okay? I always see these people that post like, oh, I posted something controversial yesterday and I lost 5 friends, but good riddance to those people. I think the more concerning thing is what you don't see, right? That the unfollow button on Facebook this time is really getting a workout. I got a lot of friends that talk often about unfollow. I just unfollowed that person. I'm an unfollower. I'm not going to unfriend you, but if I'm going to unfollow, like I don't want to see the garbage in my life. A lot of people are taking that approach. Right, wrong, or indifferent, right? If you're posting polarizing content, your friends count is not always a good reflection of what's actually happening. There is most likely under the surface a whole ton of people that have unfollowed you, which essentially eliminates your reach to those people. So I would just say be very careful about the polarizing content. Look, we all have opinions, and sometimes it makes a lot of sense to stand up for those. I don't know that it makes a ton of sense if having the ability to market to a wide swath of people using your Facebook page is important to you, you may consider avoiding that. And then the last thing I would say is, and I see this, right, people that kind of feel like they have to be in there to promote their business, but they don't really post much else. That's kind of all you see on their page. Not a good idea. Like most people care more about you as a person than they care about the fact that you sell houses. It's the other side. It's all the stuff you post that's not about your business that allows you to bring in those things about your business, right? And then they don't feel weird when it's just in the context of your entire life. A couple things to do. And I see this all the time, right? Somebody posts something. I see this happen to agents frequently. They'll post a listing and somebody will come in and say, hey, love this house. Can you make this public so I can share it? Like, as a real estate agent, if you're posting content about your business, I'm going to assume that you are comfortable with people that are not your friends seeing that content. Right? Because if, let's say you posted something, a really great listing, and Jenny wanted to share that listing with her mom because her mom was looking at, moving to the area. If your post isn't public, Jenny can't share it with her mom, right? Then she has to come on your thing. If she ever even doesn't, says, hey, can you make this post public? So just as a standard, make your business posts public. You can choose to keep your personal posts personal, and when you post about your kids or whatever, right, only share that with your friends. But please make your business posts public. Tag people when it makes sense. I'm going to show you guys an example or two of a really smart approach to tagging people. But one of the things that like our teams do, if you have a team, right, a really effective strategy is when you post, like let's say a listing, right, don't just post that, tag all the people on your team. Because what that'll do then is that'll get exposed now, especially if you make it public, right, to all of those folks in their networks, right? It's not just now limited to the people that you're friends with. They can, that post tagged on them is going to show up on their wall. It's going to get into the feeds of their friends, right? You guys see stuff all the time in your timelines that's not from a friend of yours, but you're seeing it because a friend of yours is tagged, right? But again, you wouldn't have seen that post had that person not made it public in most cases. And then this last kind of right? Engage with every commenter. Meaningful engage means more. Here's what I mean by that. So, and I'll share a little story with you guys. I recently had my birthday. And about 4 years ago, I'd had a birthday, and I got just a deluge. I've got a couple thousand Facebook friends. I'm just hammered by happy birthday wishes. And look, it makes you feel very humbled, right? But there were so many, I couldn't even respond. And so at the end of the day, I did what a lot of us do. I put up a post. I said, hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate all of the love, and But I didn't go back. I didn't go comment on all those posts that have been left on my wall. I don't even know that I was able to like them. There were so many, right? Again, I feel very fortunate that people took the time. But at that point, I turned off the ability for people to post to my wall. And for the last 3 years, on my birthday, just, my friends reach out to me on my cell phone, or they send me a message on Facebook. And that's continued up into this year. This year, I woke up on my birthday, and I'm like, you know what? I don't get that many messages, right? I'm going to personally respond to every single message that I get. And so and then I woke up and I'm like, oh man, I got 30 text messages and I got 70 Facebook messages. Oh, okay, here we go. And I did it. I just responded to every single comment. The first thing that happened is I had some really amazing conversations with people that I haven't talked to in a long time. And I went out of my way, like, if there was somebody I didn't know that well, I tried to learn a little bit about them. And when I responded and thanked them for reaching out, I said, hey, how's business going down there in Palm Beach or wherever, right? What that will do inside of my Facebook, right, is it create a bigger affinity with those people. Even those messages, they weren't happening out in the public arena of Facebook, but Facebook sees those messages and he goes, wow, Bob's interested in this person. He had a long conversation with this person. Oh, he even had a video chat with this person. Those people, Sal would be one of them who called me on video. I'm seeing his stuff now more, right? Facebook saw all that interaction that happened where I kind of went out of my way, and not that it was going out of my way on my birthday, to like have these really meaningful interactions, these chats with people, these Facebook videos. I was, every single comment left, I was at least liking it, right? And this was happening all over the place. In your birthday, it's a lot. Every day, though, you're potentially missing opportunities to build large affinities with people. One of the people that does this the best is Ben Kinney. And I don't know how many of you guys know Ben. He's one of those, like, he's got 5,000 Facebook friends that's maxed out, right? When he posts something, in the first 15 minutes, there's 25 comments. But he understands that his reach and his affinity with these people is directly impacted by like how engaged he is in there. So you will see him going in and responding to comments, right? I mean, there's times where there's 200 comments on it. He responds to every single one. He does that. Look, I don't want to put words in his mouth. Sometimes in his career and in my career, you don't have the capacity to be engaged at that level. So you end up liking stuff, and that's fine, right? Respond to your comments. If you're somebody that gets 7, 8, 10, respond to them. Like, try to think of something meaningful to say, because that little bit of interaction back and forth in the commentary section is signals to Facebook to say, hey, Bob's having a conversation with Ashley in the thread of this post right here. They're going back and forth, right? Ashley is so much more likely for her stuff to show up to me later because of those interactions. So engage. When people comment, like, look, at the very, very minimum, like or love or laugh at or whatever, but in a perfect world, you would actually be responding to these comments, right? Like, treat it like what it was intended to be. I think many years ago, like this cocktail party, the world could attend, right? And you would not just walk around a cocktail party if people were saying like, hey man, I love your new listing, and being like, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, right? You'd be like, hey, thanks. You know anybody that wants to buy this thing? Like, what a great deal, right? Like, say something. Okay, let's get into some of these posts. So the first kind of suggestion I'm going to make to you is figure out a way to celebrate your success. And Sheldon Neal, so he's a Remax agent out in New Jersey. I've known Sheldon for, 12 years. And for a good portion of that time, he has been going to this kind of one way that he celebrates his success, which is essentially when he helps somebody sell their house or buy and move into that house. He does this kind of a picture. And you can see over time, right, 157 likes on this thing and 34 comments. And one of the other things that he does in here, which is, to me, is just super smart, is see at the top there, it's like Sheldon is with Rich and Barbara. Who do you think those are? I'm going to guess it's not the two collies there, right? It's the guy and his wife right there that Sheldon sold the house to. Now, when he tags those people and he makes his post public, what happens? Right? What happens? Sheldon's post shows up in the timelines of Rich and Barbara's friends. Right? Do I want to be in the timeline of all the friends of the people that I just helped sell their house? Right? Especially if there's like a great story around it. And he always does a good job of kind of working the story of his clients into that post. Right? And we can see in this post, these people are heading out of Jersey and they're moving to Florida. They're retiring. Right? Like high five. And he celebrates that in there. Right? He's celebrating their success more than he's celebrating his own. But the way that he does it, and he's very consistent in it. If you were to go to find Sheldon Neal on Facebook and just scroll back through his timeline, you would basically you'd know how much business this guy does, because every time he has a closing, he does something fun like this. And over the years, he does them silly. He'll hide in a tree in the background of the picture, or he'll be up on the roof, or coming out of the window with the sold sign or whatever it is. Obviously he's got his mask on and all that now these days, right? But find a way to celebrate your own successes, okay? And look, some people do that by just, you have to do what you're comfortable with, right? I think Sheldon would probably be less comfortable celebrating his own successes, so he's celebrating the successes of his clients, but it's kind of showcasing his success. So this is one way to do it. But as I was scrolling through Sheldon's timeline, I noticed something from one of his clients, right? And it's on his timeline because she tagged him. He helped them sell their house in 4 days with multiple offers, and they tagged and thanked him. Look at this post at the bottom, 62 comments on this post. And if you were to have gone into this post, which I did, like, the comments were, boded well for Sheldon. There was a lot of people that friends of Marine here, who saw that this guy in the middle of coronavirus, in the middle of COVID, and that's the comments were like that, like, holy cow, 4 days, like, and with coronavirus, this just, which one's more powerful, by the way? I think we would all agree that this one is magnitudes more powerful than him celebrating his own success, or at least that's my opinion, right? Marine coming out. Now, I don't know if Sheldon asked her to do this, right? If he didn't, he got lucky here, I think, right? But is that a strategy that we could try to figure out how to ask our clients to help us celebrate these big wins that we help them through in their life? Right, and to give us a little bit of credit for those. I don't think it's beyond reproach to go in and want to try to figure out a way to get your clients to celebrate their successes and tag you. So two really kind of powerful ways to use tagging in here, right? The one time where Sheldon tagged his clients, and then this other time where his client, again, I'm not sure if it was, kind of unprompted or not, but wow, like what a great, kind of mini commercial inside of Marine's social media feed for Sheldon Neal. All right, so listen, I mean, this is probably one of the most common things that an agent might choose to do on social media. And on any given day, my feed is mostly, I'm friends with real estate agents, so I see these everywhere. And so I think you should promote your listings. When I say for a reason, this is probably, in what she wrote in there, right? Today's listing of the day. And Jacqueline, she didn't do it every single day, but many, 4 or 5 days a week, she'll do a listing of the day. And a lot of times it's her own listings. Sometimes, though, she will go approach an agent in her market and say, hey, look, I've loved your new listing. Do you mind if I share it on Facebook? And literally 99 times out of 100, they go, yeah, awesome, you bet. Like, bring me a buyer, right? So she's in there sharing her own listings, sharing other people's listings in her office, sometimes even reaching out to agents outside of her office and asking if it's okay if she promotes their listing, because it's a really cool listing on the river, high bank, and amazing views, and it makes for good fodder. people love real estate. They love to look at houses, right? The fact that, Zillow gets 70 million visitors a month and only 5 million houses sell in the United States in an entire year, it lets you know, like, people like to look at real estate. But give them a reason. And here's what I mean. Like, this is on the page, what you see here, right? Anyone want to escape to the country, right? Like, that's her reason. Very, very kind of succinct and to the point, right? Like, hey, COVID's going on in the city. It's like, anybody want to escape to the country? Some of the better ones I see, what you tend to see them doing is telling the story of that listing, right? It's one thing to go in there and kind of copy and paste the description that you put into the MLS and just be like, here it is. Yeah, if you click through, you'd see the same thing on this page, the description of the house. It's got 4 bedrooms and it's got, granite countertops. That's not what I mean by the story of the house, right? The story of the house is like bringing it to life, letting me know what's nearby. What parks can I walk to? Why did the last people that live there love living there? I mean, this is easier for some houses, right? Some houses showcase beautifully and you could probably write, multiple paragraphs about the amazing kitchen, right? Do that. Like, give people a reason to want to check out what you're marketing beyond just the description that you put into the MLS. And it can be as simple as, anyone want to escape to the country? But go out and promote your listings. And obviously here, she's driving them back to her Brivity website, right? So if somebody in her world, right, or maybe she tagged her sellers in this, right? Somebody in their world goes, oh, Jim and Mary are selling. Like, we know some people that love to live in our neighborhood, right? Drive them back to your website always. Always. But don't be scared to promote your listings. But it feels kind of slimy if you just put it up there. Just like, here it is. Like, anybody, tell a story about it. Give me a reason to want to click on it, right? Maybe it's because it has the coolest master bathroom you've ever seen. Or what do you guys think of the tile in the master bathroom on this house? Ben has us always reading books, and one of the books that we read recently was the 7 Powers of Questions. There is a lot of power in asking a question. Even this simple question, like, anyone want to escape to the country? What it does is it triggers a response. One of the secret 7 powers of questions is they elicit a response. So when you ask a question inside of Facebook anywhere, and some of the most popular posts you'll see, by the way, are just simply you asking a question. What do you like better, modern houses or farmhouses, right? You'll see people doing those with pictures, right? It's like they'll post 4 photos and be like, which kitchen do you like better? It's a question that elicits a response. Listen, knowing that your friend Mary really likes, farmhouse kitchens, I don't know how valuable that is to you. Mary writing that on your post so that you now have a larger affinity with Mary, so that the next time you share something, Mary's more likely to see it. There's a ton of value in that. So most of those people that are, those 15 comments we see on this listing are people that are addressing her question. Okay, so really be mindful of, like, what are you asking people to do when you post this thing? Are you just asking them to read it and move on? Or are you asking them for some specific feedback? For example, in this case, does anybody want to escape to the country? All right, so let's talk about video for just a minute. Video is massively powerful when done inside of Facebook. And that's not to say that posting a YouTube video is not powerful, but who owns YouTube? The Googs. Google owns YouTube. So when you post a YouTube video inside of Facebook, do you think Facebook, like, do they have every reason to broadcast that video more widely? Or would they prefer that your video was actually done inside of Facebook? I'm going to venture that they would prefer it was actually done inside of Facebook for very similar reasons why they would prefer that you posted your content straight there instead of using something like Hootsuite. So this is Fred said. He's a Ben Kinney expansion partner down in Orange County. And for a long while now, on Fridays, Fred posts a Facebook Live. He goes live in Facebook. Sometimes he's driving in his car. Sometimes he's out at a listing. Sometimes he's just sitting in his office. Not super high quality professional videos. It's just Fred sitting down and talking to his audience. So what kind of stuff does he talk about? In this particular one, he talked about building wealth through owning real estate. I've seen and heard him talk about, the best way to, present a home for curb appeal. I've seen him talk about, what's the best strategy for multiple offer situations. I've seen, like, anything Fred knows, he's willing to get out there on a Friday and share it with his audience. And like this particular post, again, 306 views, right? Only 16 comments and 30 likes, right? But every single one of those little marks down there leads to an increase in affinity with all those people that interacted with this video, right? So he had people that watched that video live. He had people, that video then lives on Facebook after he's done with his live session. During his live sessions, he gets people that come in and ask him questions, right? All of that interaction, all of that stuff happening under the hood of Facebook is leading to a higher affinity for Fred. Now, it doesn't always have to be Fred getting up on Monday and being like, what am I going to talk about again on Friday, right? And he does this every single Friday. He's bringing some, and look, these things aren't necessarily that long even in some cases. Sometimes they're 3 to 5 minutes. Sometimes he gets on one and he's on there for 20 minutes. Sometimes he brings in an expert. And Fred and I are good buddies, right? He'd be the first one to tell you, like, put something pretty next to him and it's probably a good idea. And I kid, right? In this case, he brought in his staging person. And she basically carried the call, right? You'll notice this is May 22nd, 306 views. This is June 5th, 424 views. These things build on itself, right? Because as more people view these, the next time he does one of these, Facebook serves this video up to more people. So that leads to this idea of like consistency. How can I find something? Sheldon Neal has something consistent. He's got this thing where every time he sells a house, he does this consistent message, right? The people that are connected to him expect that message, and they expect to see Sheldon posting something every now and then. These people that are viewing Fred's video, right? They expect a video from Fred every Friday now. And Friday over Friday, as he continues to post these things, he gets more and more traction with what he's doing, right? Facebook is more likely to serve his stuff up now because he has a track record where they go, I know this Fred guy, he's going to be back next Friday, so let's serve this one up because we want him to see it next Friday, because really all we want is people staying on Facebook. So think about, who do you have? You know, your home inspector, right? Your lender, your stager, your photographer, right? Who are the people that you could co-opt for this kind of thing? And the cool thing is this video lives forever now, right? If somebody was going in and searching Facebook for a staging expert, maybe they come across Fred's video, right? And this video will continue to pick up views over time. Not a lot, right? But a couple people every week who watch another video that he's put out, and he's had these videos out for a long time. They have legs. Market stats. So we do this on a lot of our teams, and I spent a bunch of time trying to find one that had a ton of interaction. And I'll be honest with you, these market report posts don't get a ton of interaction. But Craig did something very interesting here. He tags his wife, right? So Craig and Becca Channer, they're up in Anchorage, Alaska. Craig tags his wife in here and says, hey, here's the market stats. And our teams do this all over the country in the different markets that we're in. And you'll see it, the post, it had 3 likes on it. And one was his wife, Becca, right? She liked it. Good job. And only 2 other likes. And so I like looked all through Craig. I'm like, does he post any more? No, he's inconsistently. He was inconsistent. He posted this one market report, and then he hadn't done any for the whole month before that, and I didn't see any for a couple months after that. But I thought, man, he used a call to action in here, which is really important for us to talk about at this point. He actually used 2. A lot of times, like even when we post our listing, we don't take the time, even simply in that text that we can add, to add like the easy way for somebody to reach out to us, right? And I think we think, oh, it's going to my friends. They all know how to get a hold of me. But what if I'm making that public? What if I'm tagging some of the other agents on my team on this market report, right? What if it ends up in front of somebody that doesn't know my phone number? All of a sudden, it makes a lot of sense to give them a really easy way to get a hold of us, which seems kind of silly, except when you realize kind of how Facebook works, you realize your stuff could potentially end up in front of people that don't know you. And if they saw that and they wanted to get their own update, right, he gives them an opportunity to do that. Text update to 59559 for stats on your neighborhood. Now, 2 people did this. And that little bar graph you see in there is the back end of our text-to-lead service inside of Brivity. It's called Quickly. And you have the ability to create these, we call this an instant keyword, where if somebody texted that word, they have basically a landing page they send back to that person to capture their information so they can then go set up a market report for their little slice of town. So he posted this thing. It didn't take him very long, right? We've got templates that allow them to put in these numbers really fast and then just post this image. He got 2 leads from it. He hasn't been consistent with it. He wasn't doing it a ton. On its face, the post wasn't very successful. I'd take 2 leads of somebody in my reach, right, that wanted to get information about what was selling around their house so I could get them into my database, start to send them market reports, another tool inside of Brivity that we offer. Calls to action are important. I want you guys to really think, like, inside of a post that I put out there, what am I asking them to do? Sometimes it's just a question. I'm asking them to respond so that I can create greater affinity with them. Sometimes I'm marketing a property. At the end of the day, I'd love if they call or texted me at my cell phone number. And then maybe I have a text call to action for them to take advantage of as well. Curious on a virtual tour of this home? Text Ben Kinney to 59559. This is a post that we've been using for years and years on different teams. And look, some of these people aren't even a Ben Kinney team, like John Hurlbut there, way back in 2015. So for at least 5 years, and we see my mom right there, Gail Smith, in November of 2019 using the same strategy, right? And you can see the wording on that changes a little bit. The posts themselves, again, not a ton of commentary, right? A little bit. You could probably even spice this up, right? I was researching the market last weekend. Homes in Seattle are up 12% over last year, and in some neighborhoods, it's even crazier. You know, if you're curious about what your home's worth today, shoot me a message. Shoot me a private message, right? The call to action, send me a message. Private message me. Send me a Facebook message. Rip this off. R&D this. Put it out there, right? Now, you might have wanted to actually have done some research on the market, or at least know you're one of those people that knows your numbers, because you'd hate for somebody to be like, hey, and put you on the spot and be like, what are houses doing in Tacoma, right? You have to be able to answer that. This is just a really easy post that, you know, a lot of people on our teams will do, you know, maybe twice a year or something, right? I just went back and found a whole kind of cache of them searching Facebook for people that I'm connected to. All right, people like to win free stuff, guys. This is my friend Leah Cruz up in Blaine, Washington. Leah doesn't have 1 million Facebook friends. She's not Ben Kinney with 5,000 Facebook friends, okay? And she doesn't do this every time she has a listing, but back in November when she had this listing, she just ran a contest, and she basically just said, again, there's a lot good in here, right? A couple of the things that are good, she kind of tells me the story of this house. You know, that might be kind of a more kind of description from the MLS type of a story, right? But she tells them what to do. Now, she offers them something or the chance for something in exchange for doing that thing, right? So like, comment, and share this post for a chance to win a $25 gift card to Starbucks. How many people took her up on that? It looks like 42 followed the full instructions. I'm going to assume the 42 that took the time to share it probably also did the other two things, left a comment and liked it. She lives in a little town, guys. Blaine's not a big town. Like, if you had 42 people in Blaine or in the surrounding county share this post, there's a really good chance that on this day back in November, Leah Wright, oh, sorry, I know her as Leah Wright. She's married now. Leah Cruz had full coverage. I mean, everybody in Whatcom County who was on Facebook on November 23rd or 24th saw her listing. She created an incredible amount of affinity with those 42 people who shared, right? A share is going to be a higher level of affinity than a comment. That's basically like somebody endorsing what you did and being like, look, what they did, I want to show everybody what they did, right? That's going to be kind of those three, right? Share the highest, comment the next. It's hard to get a lot of shares. Nobody shares my stuff at this clip, right? And for her to get, you know, that much coverage for this listing on the you know, the offer that somebody, one of these 42 people won a $25 gift card to Starbucks, I would take that every day of the week. Now, you can't necessarily do that every day of the week, or maybe you could. Maybe you try it out a little bit until it kind of burns itself out. Right? She picks and chooses, I think, certain listings that she thinks are cool or something, and she'll do this with. But that's an incredible amount of coverage if you think about those 42 people who shared that and the networks that those people have around them. It also makes you realize, like, people are willing to do stuff for something, right? In this case, just the chance to win a $25 Starbucks gift card. All right, so those are our 8 different kind of posts that we might encourage you guys to think about. And look, not all these are going to fit your style, right? Not all these are going to be something that you want to incorporate, but I would encourage you to figure out a way to market your business. And we gave you guys some things to think about anyway, okay? Ron, who else is on here? Ashley's been in the background kind of answering questions for Ron and a few people that have been. Deb. Anybody else have any questions before we jump off here today that Ashley wasn't able to answer, kind of back behind the scenes? I appreciate you guys taking some time today. We'll be back to you again next week. I think our webinar next week is going to be around persuasion and kind of the how you can become a more persuasive salesperson, some of the scripts that we use and some of those different things. Tiffany, I will do my best to make sure that when we send the recording out for this thing, either later today or first thing tomorrow, that we include a PDF of the slides. Chris, go to business page. You want to set up a Facebook business page? Go to facebook.com/pages, I want to say. That'll get you started. Oh, Pamela, that's a really great question. Pamela, let's go back here for a second. Pamela says, what about using icons? I think she means emojis, right? Because we see that all the time. We see Leah called it out here with contest a little bit. I think there was one back here. I think, yeah, Sheldon does it, right? I would absolutely use those icons when they made sense. I wouldn't overdo it, but there's visual marketing, there's a whole bunch of kind of hacks. This is a hack in visual marketing, which is essentially what we're doing. We're trying to get people just to for their brain to take that extra 1/10 of a second to like recognize that thing and think, I want to stop here. Emojis can absolutely do that. So you'll see, there's a common set of them in real estate. There's a couple different house emojis. There's some $ emojis, right? Like, I would absolutely try to figure out, like, in something like this. Leah did a really great job with it here. She was really light on them, but it kind of set off that contest at the top. And when you realize how Facebook is starting to train our brains, little things like that make a difference when you're continually scrolling and seeing very, kind of a similar set of things. Small stuff like that will absolutely jump off the screen at you. So she said, does that include Instagram to Facebook? I'm not sure exactly what part she was talking about, but oh, I know what she's talking about. She's talking about if I'm taking stuff from Instagram and pushing it into now. So when I was talking about third-party sharing, no, that wouldn't apply from Instagram to Facebook. Facebook owns Instagram. So they're fine if you're over there on Instagram and that's where you create your content, because you get to see those ads on Instagram, right? That money all ends up in Facebook's bucket at the end of the day. So great question. Aaron says, any tips for getting more followers for your business page? The first tip I would have you do is boosted posts, right? I mean, look, Facebook has really suppressed business pages. They are hard to get in front of people without advertising dollars these days, right? So, we use a boosted post concept around like listings that we have. And then what we'll do is we'll say stuff like, follow our page to see more awesome new listings like this one, right? And then here's our listing. We'll spend $5 a day boosting a post like that, and we will pick up followers to our business page because they want to come in and see what other listings we might have coming down the road. But again, that gets to like, what is that call to action when you boost a post, for example, right? And we kind of split that call to action between, hey, follow our page for more stuff like this awesome listing, right? But go check this awesome listing out too, right? So you're kind of splitting the CTA, the call to action inside of something like that. But I'll tell you, Aaron, outside of like paid advertising, it's really hard to get reach on a business page in the same way as it is on a personal page, because on a personal page, you can tag other people, and on a business page, you can only tag other business pages that are like following your page. And, they make it a heck of a lot harder for businesses to have this kind of massive reach like we have the potential with our personal pages. All right, you guys have an awesome rest of your week. I'll give you 7 minutes of your day back. High five, you guys. My name's Bob Stewart. Thanks to Ashley and Mikey and Samantha behind the scenes who make these things happen. Have an awesome rest of your week in real estate. We'll see you guys again really soon here for our next Brivity webinar. Bye-bye, everybody.